mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
I'm...
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, the weekly show where we introduce you to content creators of all shapes and sizes that join us from many and all corners of the nerd universe. We find out more about them and take your questions. I'm your host, Ryan of Nerd Culture, and our guest this week is a broadcast engineer, a founder, which we'll talk a little bit more about, later, and podcaster extraordinaire. Please welcome Jerry Royce to the show. Jerry, welcome to the program. How are you today, good sir?
Hey, Ryan, I'm doing good. Thanks for having us, man.
For sure. Thank you so much for being with us here, Jerry. Now, if you have any questions for Jerry Royce during the course of this show, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Our producer is going to be monitoring it as you go throughout the course of the show. But in the meantime, Jerry, what would you say were some of your favorite movies or TV series growing up?
Oh, wow, man. I was a TV buff growing up, man. You know, of course, when I grew up in the DMV, we didn't have a lot of channels growing up. So I had to wait till late. But I'm going to tell you, man, the one that made the difference, and my two shows made the difference. The Midnight Special with Moon Man Jack and Soul Train. That's what molded me today. I want to do this.
Ah, okay, all right, awesome sauce. What would you say were some of your favorite books or comic books growing up?
Oh man, I was really in the comic book. I was so in the comic books, man. I actually started my own publishing company with two other friends. Of course, Batman, that was my guy. And I was really in love with some Spider-Man, even though I did take on the nickname of Batman. Spider-Man and Iron Man were my guys too, man. You know?
All right. Any featuring those characters and maybe some others, what are some of your favorite comic book based movies or TV series, whether they be past or present?
Of course, the Batman saga. I love that. Iron Man has taken movies to the next level with the special effects. I'm definitely an Iron Man favorite. Big fan of that. And I do love me some Thor too, man. That was one of my other favorite guys, Thor. Yeah. And I love the fact that who they picked to play Thor. He was perfect.
Yeah, Australian outback. Yeah, it works. So it actually brings me up to this. What did you think of Thor: Love and Thunder? What did you think of the new one?
I didn't get to that one yet because I actually put in a movie theater in my home, so I'm kind of taking my time, going through some of the movies that's out, the action flicks. So there's a lot of them out there right now, but that's on my list.
Okay, all right. So you got a few things to catch up on, but if you had to pick, hypothetically, if you had to pick like your top 5 favorite comic book based movies, what would they be?
Oh man, gotta put Batman on top of the list, especially that last one, man. They really outdid themselves on that one.
You mean Robert Pattinson's iteration? Yeah, I thought he did a pretty good job. And
I haven't finished the series with Spider-Man yet because I still haven't seen Homecoming yet, which But what blew my mind was when they came out with the Black Spider-Man. That was incredible. That whole series, man, especially with was it the lizard that he was going to bring? The reptile.
Well, the villain's name is called the Lizard, but yeah. So you're referring to Into the Spider-Verse, the animated film?
Yeah. So man, there's just so many. They just Hollywood just doing their thing, man. Especially since Disney took over. You get on that channel, Disney Plus, man. It's like Doctor Strange jumping off the screen right now. It's just so many of them, man. It's hard to pick that top 5. It's hard. The Avengers, the Black Panther series. Of course, it was too bad that we lost that brother
Chadwick Boseman. Yeah,
but hopefully, whoever step into his shoes can carry it on. But incredible work, man. I never thought I'd see the movies, the comic world hit the silver screen like it is. It's incredible.
That's a fair point. Have you seen the trailer for the new Black Panther film, Wakanda Forever?
Yeah, I saw a partial of it, but I said, let me save that because sometimes I do go out there and just look at trailers. I spend like an hour or more at trailers. Which, YouTube is like my go-to. You gotta love it.
That is for certain. Boy, we are really nerding out here on this show known as And I Quote. Once again, we're talking with podcaster Jerry Royce here on this show. Make sure you like and share this video with all 200 of your closest friends because they're going to like the way they look after watching or listening to this episode of And I Quote. We guarantee it. If you're joining us live or on the replay, thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions for Jerry, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We would love to hear from you. We encourage the interaction very much so. With that being said, have you you mentioned this earlier, and by the way, hashtag not a sponsor for Disney Plus. Have you seen any of the Star Wars stuff that's dropped, like Star Wars Andor?
Man, I was thinking about saving it for my vacation week during Thanksgiving because there's so much out there, and I kind of lost, my way with Star Wars over the years. But it's gonna, luckily, they are in one place now. I don't have to go rent no DVDs or anything to stream it. Oh man, this is the life, man.
No, we don't have to worry about going to our local library, checking out the VHS tapes anymore. We don't have to worry about going to Blockbuster, even though Blockbuster held great memories for us. Let's be perfectly honest. Walking up and down those aisles, trying to figure out what 5 movies you were going to watch that weekend.
The good old days.
You remember that? Yeah. Ooh, Blockbuster. I was looking around the other day. I was cleaning some stuff out, and I noticed that I still had my Blockbuster membership card. I never got rid of it.
Wow.
I still got it.
Wow.
So if I go up to the last one that is currently surviving and the one in Bend, Oregon, if I go up there and make a trip, I should take my membership card, see if they can pull up my old file.
Or go online and see if you can rent it from that box. The online box.
Well, maybe that's a possibility. I have to look into that. I got to be honest. But who knows? One of these days, maybe we will truly go back and make it a Blockbuster night, as they like to tell us in those commercials when we watched when we were kids.
Yeah.
Boy, we could go all day with that. But not to get off too far the beaten path. What made you decide to become a podcaster here, Jerry?
Man, I always love radio. You have a lot of colorful characters in the Baltimore area, whether you're in the sports, like the Fan. I love shout out to those guys, 105.7 The Fan. All those guys are characters from the morning show to the evening show. So I think that was the whole thing is, sports radio. Of course, we love our DJs and our house music. And, if you remember, I don't know if you remember, Frank Ski used to be the man here in DJ Spin, Friday nights, house music. I actually was a DJ for a couple of years with my neighborhood friends. We started a business. That was our first business, successful business. And then went on until we all went our separate ways when we got to college. But that my love for talk radio, man. My wife, she doesn't like talk radio at all, but she loves watching podcasts on YouTube. It's crazy. So you got to be on TV for her to watch a podcast. But anyway, that's my thing, man. 105.7 The Fan, man. Gotta love it.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I worked at 105.7 The Fan for a while, and I was on a show. I was working behind the scenes, rather. I wasn't like on the air, but I did work behind the scenes as a phone screener at CBS Radio here in Baltimore, and specifically 105.7 The Fan. Do you remember Ken Wyman and Jeremy Kahn? Did those names ring any bells?
Yeah.
So they had a show called Playmakers that was on many years ago, and I was their phone screener for their show. So when the people call in, I pick up the phone, said Playmakers, what's your name? And I put in their name and what they want to talk about in the chat, so Ken and Jeremy can see it on their screen. Yeah. And every time the phone rang and I picked it up, they're like, "Yo, Perm," because my nickname was the Perm when I was on the show because the prefix of my last name is PERM. So they call me, "What's up, Big Perm? Big Worm?" They just, dropping the Friday line on me, and Chris Tucker. Those were some fun times, man. I got to be honest, because Silent Rob, who hardly ever spoke, was our producer. And then Jeremy and Ken were a riot, man. When you put those two folks together, they are a team. Hence the reason their show was called Playmakers. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, colorful.
I mean, granted, they moved on to different sort of greener pastures between the two of them, but I still keep in touch with Ken and Jeremy. So if Ken Wyman, Jeremy Kahn, and Silent Rob, if you're watching or listening to this, Playmakers for life, man. Good to hope you're enjoying this broadcast. Not to make this about me, but yeah, I just thought that was funny. You brought up 105.7 The Fan because I do have a history with that radio station.
Yeah, man. Jeremy, he's on the morning show now with Rob and those guys.
Yeah,
and the commish. Yeah.
Oh, the commish. Yeah, that's right.
Funny guys, man.
Man, we could go all day about our history of broadcasting when it comes to the state of Maryland, which is Jerry and I are currently located in. What would you say are some of the rewards about being a podcaster for you, Jerry?
Oh man, well, my archives are like over 10,000 episodes. Because I actually started doing this in 2007, But of course, the technology wasn't what it is today. You had to makeshift your system. You had to use a phone, and it has to, just to make an MP3 file and then upload it to your website. And thanks to MySpace, I was able to build a player on my website, and people can just listen to shows all day. They didn't know if we were live or not. They just took for granted we were. And plus, it was all over the world, so nobody really knew. So 2007 was interesting because I had to really get my engineering, because I went to Poly for engineering.
Sure.
And I had to be really creative, man, to make that thing fly. Because at the time, people don't know, podcasting used to cost $30,000 a year to be on the web, to be on a legitimate station, which was, I think it was like Radio America, some kind of name like that, Podcast of America. But I know that Apple came up with the word podcast, and then everybody stole it from them, because I think it was actually a device. So, yeah, you got to look that up. It's very interesting where the word podcast came from, because they started the pods. So when I ended up taking a job with the government, and it was a very extensive training, so I had to get away from this. I couldn't do both. And when I came back, which was like 2013, I saw the technology finally has corrected itself. The software finally came together with the hardware. Well, finally the hardware caught up with the software, because buffering issues, and then the internet itself and Wi-Fi. Because remember, the USB people don't realize the USB made a world of difference to this world, because then we was able to take our boards and plug them up into our computers. So now the interface worked together. And then these mics plug right in to your laptops or to your whatever you're plugging them up to. So that's what it was basically, man. Just waiting for the technology to come together. So that was the highlight of my podcast life.
Man, I'm learning all sorts of new things on this show known as And I Quote. We're talking with podcaster Jerry Royce here in this episode. Make sure you like and share it with all 300 of your closest friends. If you got any questions for Jerry Royce, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. More than happy to take them as we go throughout the course of the show. If you're watching us live or on the replay, thank you so much for being here. My goodness gracious. Jerry, well, real quick though, quick sidebar here about MySpace. When you had a MySpace page, people would click on it, and you would be able to play. In your case, you would promote your upcoming shows and your podcast. But my question is, on MySpace, they had this option where you could play a song every time someone jumps on your page. It would be like your theme song, like your entrance music if you were walking out to a Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, whatever. So I'm just curious, what would have been the song that would be playing on your MySpace page had it not been podcast related?
Oh man, I think it was Mary J. Blige. One of the songs from Mary J. Blige was my thing. I can't remember which one it was, but later on I found an instrumental and I just put my own voiceover on it, and that thing used to hype me up, man. No matter how bad I felt or how low I was, that thing would just pick me up, and I was happy, because it's hard sometimes, for those of us that podcast every single day and you have to bring it, people don't know that you got another life outside. It could be bad, or low or whatever. And no one is going to be encouraging and cheerleading you on your way, when you go live. So you need that music. It's so important.
That is very true. Unfortunately, I cannot remember the song that would have been playing on my MySpace page. I know I had a MySpace page for not too long of a period of time, because this was I think it was somewhat towards the end of MySpace's time, and then something else was coming in. It's called Facebook. And gosh, what was it? Was it Megadeth? May have been a song by Megadeth. I can't remember. If anyone was on my MySpace page back in the heyday and they remember what song was playing when you first click on my page, the home page, let me know in the chat. I'd be very curious to hear what song I had.
Yeah,
because for the life of me, I can't remember. Was it the Triple H theme song, My Time, from the Monday Night Wars with WWE?
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah,
it might have been. I don't know. I grew up watching pro wrestling as a kid, so it could. Yeah. Well, hey, who was your favorite wrestler?
Andre the Giant, man, and Undertaker.
Oof.
Because Undertaker actually came out of my era, and I'm not even sure if it was the same guy or not, but my sons were actually watching him. My youngest was able to see the end of the Undertaker's career. Yeah.
Yep, he had his retirement recently, and what do you call it? He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in the WWE recently too. So
yeah, a lot of characters back then, man. Matter of fact, the characters back then were pretty incredible, man, because they were kind of colorful like the comic book characters. But I think when my youngest son got into it, it's kind of was taking on that video game, because these guys, the stuff we're seeing in these movies, the wrestlers been doing that stuff where they be spinning around the person's neck and then take them down, like what the Black Widow does. Them guys been doing that for years. Incredible, I mean, and that's live. There's no, all right, let's choreograph this thing real quick, 2 takes, then they get it on the first take, right in the match. Yeah,
very true. Wrestlers putting their bodies on the line each and every night in that ring. That is for darn sure. Yeah, Undertaker retired after 32 years. That's over 32 years, because he was he had a run in WCW, and then he signed with WWE and became the Undertaker. So I remember history of that. So
and funny thing, man. Of course, The Rock was like one of the biggest sensations, as we as I got out of wrestling. But my oldest son had an opportunity to actually build a set for what's the big one?
WrestleMania?
Yeah. All of them, yeah. The Hulk, all of them. He built the set right there at Baltimore Arena, I think at the time it was called, before it became Rural Farm. It had so many
They've renamed that arena so many times.
We know it's a Civic Center. That's the real name.
Civic Center. That's right. No, that's right, because I remember going to pay-per-views and SmackDowns at that arena.
Yep.
I remember that.
Yep, he did the SmackDown, and of course the women wrestling really got popular as the girls got more beautiful and more
evolution.
Yeah. So he was part of all of that, man. So I got a chance to, the stuff I love my kids is actually hands-on with it. He was on HBO. He did HBO, The Wire, all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious, man! So many. It's almost like 6 degrees of separation. All these things are being tied into one another. It's something else. It really is.
Yeah,
on the flip side of the coin, though, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges about being a podcaster?
Of course, man. After you get off from work, after working 9 to 10 hours, and then you gotta, take care of your kids, because I had small kids at the time when I first launched this thing, and of course I made them part of it too. They did my intro. That was the hardest thing, man. It's like I was doing 2 shows a night, and a woman hooked up with me out of Ohio. She had a very lively personality. We kind of gel, and she was really good. She loved the show. And you talking about 2 shows per night, 5 days a week, and you can't let people down. I mean, we had my audience size was like 500,000. That's what was coming into our website at the time. This is before, Facebook was really what it is today. We basically was relying on Yahoo groups and our website. That's where everything was happening, man. And that was the hardest part, man. It's just, we didn't have problems with topics or anything, or guests. It just, sometimes you just wanted to make sure you were that same character that was on the night before, every night. So that was tough. And I didn't have no cheering squad in here either. Just me. So that was tough, man. And I tell people all the time, somebody on the other end of that device, whether they're listening to their phone or in their car, of course now I knew the time was going to come when cars be able to play podcasts. Yeah. They rely on you to get them through their day, or to keep them from eating a bullet, because, I do Christian inspirational, motivational radio, you can call it whatever you want, universe radio. Somebody on the other end, they dependent on you, or somebody's going to say something that's going to get them through that night, get them some help, or just want to, maybe they want to be you, because I wanted to be Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas at one time for Miami Vice. So you never know, right?
Now I have the theme song going around in my head.
Yeah.
Playing around in my head. So thanks for bringing that up. No, it's a great theme song, and it had some good seasons when the show was. Now, granted, I'm a bit younger than the person who may be watching or listening to this, so I watched it later on Divida. But I dug it. I mean, the first 2 seasons are good. I tried to watch season 3, and there was a creative shift during season 3 through 5, so that's why you sense there's a different vibe with the first 2, and then the last 3, they were like night and day.
It kind of remind you what happened to HBO The Wire. Those first 2 seasons was hot, but then when it started getting kind of political, then, but of course it was real life because that's what was happening here in Baltimore with the political arena. But yeah, I love TV, man.
Well, Miami Vice theme song is nothing to sneeze at. If you haven't heard this theme song, make sure you check it out after you're done watching this show known as And I Quote. And don't forget to like and share it with all your friends. With that being said, what advice would you give to aspiring podcasters out there?
Man, I say, one, you got to be yourself. Be yourself. Don't try to be anybody else. Just be yourself. And two, find that genre that really rocks you, man. Really excites you. Do you like talking to people? Do you like helping people? Or you want to talk about whatever field you're in, whether it's nursing or music. Go with your passion. So you can, bring life to it every time you turn that mic on. Because you got to bring life to it. Or people are gonna know you're faking it, You don't want to fake it. You got to be real.
A lot of mic drop moments happening on this episode. I'm digging it. With that being said, I do want to bring your attention, and for the person who's watching or listening to this, I want to bring this to your attention as well. We have this thing here, XXI, positive. I believe it's Positive Power XXI, something to that effect. What exactly is it, and how did that all come about, Jerry?
Man, that was a eye opener there. When I first did the logo with Positive Power 21, that's basically how it started out. I was working with this gentleman. He was actually attending Columbia University. He was a foreign student from Sierra Leone, and he was an expert with social media. That's when I first got a chance to get to know what it was, man. I was actually part of a leadership development program under the Obama administration, where they try to put some money into his leadership, and it was like 3 years. So when I was working with this kid, I told him, I said, man, you introduced me to so much. I think this is a time for me to bring back my podcast. And I had to start Positive Power was actually a newsletter. I had gotten a detail with the federal government, and I was working with a team of people who were coming from different departments. They were merging them together. So they weren't happy campers at all. They didn't want to see this happen. And so I came up with this newsletter to keep them motivated, quotes and everything from the internet and just inspirational things, and highlighting some achievements. Just not all about just all work, And so later on, when I was going, trying to build my brand, because I went to school for corporate communication at the University of Baltimore. And one of the things that the professor used to say all the time, it's like, you kind of want to, of course, you're gonna grow a little bit with your logo and things going to kind of change, but you kind of want to keep things the same. You ever look at some of these companies like Ford and all of them, they really didn't go away too much from that brand. So brand awareness was huge. So I said, man, I got to do something with Positive Power 20. No matter what I did with Positive Power 20, it just didn't look what I wanted to look like. So I took the Roman numeral 21 and dropped it on Positive Power, and I loved it. I wanted to give it some fire, some aggressiveness, some assertiveness, and brand awareness. So that's where the XXI come from. And it was funny because an artist from Sony Music, she came up with XXI. I used to say XXI, when people say, huh? She said XXI. I was like, that's it. So that was the birth. That was a short version.
No,
you're not.
It's okay. It's all right. We don't mind abridged versions of certain parts of someone's True Hollywood story. It's not. It's not a problem. With that being said, though, any special memories from your shows that you've done so far, or meeting other people at events, whether you were there as a vendor or there as an attendee?
But I'm gonna tell you one that's very memorable, man. It's burned in my head. This is basically how I transitioned from being just a podcast and just being me and Tina to being more of a company, a station. I was listening to this artist's song. I don't know where she is today, and this song was just speaking to me, man. And I kind of just dozed out. I was actually doing something. I think I was doing some voiceover or something right here in this position. And I kind of just went into some kind of dream, like a vision, daydream. And it's like I heard this voice, I said, man, was that God speaking to me? And I could hear the music playing in the back of my head while I was in this deep conscious sleep. And people don't realize though that a lot of these songs we listen to, they have frequencies that do something to our mind, our psyche. Yeah, and I kind of heard that before from a preacher, but a very popular music producer who produced music for like Mariah Carey, Beyonce, Whitney Houston told me about the frequencies. And this is a real big producer. He told me this. He was actually on, just like you and I talking today. So I think that did that to me. And that's when they told me, I want you to be a station. It's just not about you anymore. Because I used to come here and say, I called myself I Rock Talk Radio. That was the name of my show. I Rock Talk Radio. So it's like, it's not about you anymore. It's about, it's going to be a journey for some people. You're going to meet a lot of people. Memorable. You're going to make a difference. It's going to be, because I always want to know what was my purpose. Because I was just on there just having fun, just being me. I was treating podcasts like I was hosting a TV show. I told you I wanted to, be on Soul Train. And I was on Moon Man Connection. If you remember, I don't know if you remember that. You got to Google that, but that was a dance show that came out of DC. And my brother and I actually auditioned and got on there. But yeah, man, that I'll never forget that, man. That basic. I mean, I probably would have been just being a podcast if it wasn't for that moment, man. Yeah, that changed me. And then I've received over 65 nominations for awards. Yeah, it's incredible, man. I never saw that coming. And meeting iconic people, going to these award shows on these red carpets, and then being asked to follow big acts at concerts, behind the scenes shooting. And I take my son with me. He was only like maybe 12 when we got into TV. And then now he's at a university studying big time, filmmaking. So all of this, man, I actually built this television studio in my home. It has like different sets because we have some TV shows that have purpose. I feel like, God put his hand on it. It wasn't about my ego and me just being in front of the camera having fun. I don't even do my own shows anymore. I got 2 podcasts that I'm only on there for like 5 or 10 minutes, if the hosts allow that much. And then I have a TV show that's named after me. I was allowing some other people to co-host. So yeah, man, you become humble being a podcaster because you hear so much. And another awakening moment was this was crazy too, Ryan. Here, I'm here to motivate and encourage people and greet them with inspirational stuff. And I had these people in our show that they were like part of domestic violence, but they have written books. And man, once you hear like 1 or 2 shows, it's not going to bother you. But when you hear like 5 straight testimonies of these people surviving domestic violence, and then you hear all levels of it, whether the person who was experiencing this was part of a revolution of it or a series of it, where it happened to the grandmother, their mother, and now them, versus now I'm hearing a young lady tell me her story that her husband don't even come from that environment, but he started hanging with the neighbors, and the neighbors were that way, and he adopted their way. So that was like real eye-opening, man. That's when I really started seeing how podcasting was going to save somebody or change somebody or make somebody something, Yeah, man. If you start interviewing people, you're going to hear some stuff, man. And just think, 10,000 episodes, man.
It's definitely a large library, and you learn something new every day, whatever show that you or the person who may be watching or listening to this may be doing. So much respect. And all of us here in podcasting, and the stories we hear, all that stuff should be treated with respect and support one another, not tear each other down. Let's just put it that way. Once again, we're talking with podcaster Jerry Royce on this episode of And I Quote. Make sure you like and share this video with all 500 of your closest friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching or listening to this episode of And I Quote. I guarantee it. If you have any questions for Jerry, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. And if this is your first time joining us, whether you're watching this live or on the replay, thank you so much for being here and welcome. Please stick around. Feel free to do so. Lots of things coming your way very, very soon. What was I going to say here? Gee whiz. With that being said, what are your plans for your network, your podcasting, everything you got moving forward? What's the 5-year plan? What's a 10-year plan? What's on the horizon? What's coming?
Well, right now, the podcasting basically is still growing. We're producing, shows. I always have slots opening up. We air live from 7 to midnight with our live shows with, guest hosts. So I'm continuing to grow that. And basically the podcast, we're really happy where it is because people can hear it on many platforms, 150 countries. We actually supply shows to oversee radio operators. They subscribe to my network and they get the shows to an RS feed, so we don't have to do anything. For those of them that are still operating on 3G networks or cafes, they download the shows for their listening audience. And I'm not doing as many award shows or live events because the pandemic kind of slowed a lot of that stuff down, but we're starting to find out that the summer must probably be safer moments because I'm diabetic, so I have a compromised immune system, so I have to be careful being around people for a prolonged time because after a while you let your guards down. That's when they get you. So the biggest thing is that I'm getting a vision of, and you and I talked about it earlier in the green room. I produce animation, a television show with puppets, and it airs in New York, 2 cities in New York, in North Carolina, and Atlanta. And he's really catching storm. He actually has his own podcast, but I only allow him to do his podcast within my newsletter. and occasionally people can catch him on Facebook. But the biggest thing, I want to bring that to the stage. Baltimore has a lot of, and I'm not sure if this is because of Jada Pinkett Smith and Tupac, because they were so popular here, that our music programs are humongous. That was one of the things that I wish I could tell Alicia Keys if I had a chance to see her again and talk to her, is that the music program in the Baltimore area did not die. They did not take those programs away. And matter of fact, a lot of the middle schools or magnet programs, that's part of their curriculum is music. So with that said, I'll be able to visit some studios and some schools and recruit some students to help me put on this musical. And that's my vision, right? We have beautiful stage. The public school system have remarkable performing arts centers, theaters that anybody can rent. And I know it won't be a problem getting a really, really good venue. And once my son finished school and I have him back, because my other son is in this too, we'll be able to shoot a really, really good film with the puppets a little more life size. So that's my goal. And I have writers, music writers, man. These people have won music awards like Grammys and Emmys. So I have these people just waiting for me for the music. Hey, I need the music. And plus my daughter, she sings and dance too. So that's the biggest, that's part of the 5-year plan right there, man, is to get something on. You don't necessarily have to play in the theaters. You could be on a streaming platform. I'll be more than happy with that. But that's it, man. That's what I'm looking at right now is to take that to the next level.
I can definitely see that. I wish you and your creative team over there the best of luck moving forward. So you may or may not give the Jim Henson Company a run for their money.
Yeah, man. That was my show too, man. Sesame Street.
Yeah. We all grew up on that, whether it was Sesame Street or the Muppet movies in general, because I was introduced to the Muppets first, and then it was Sesame Street for me. So I went kind of reverse order. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, phenomenal.
Yeah, no shame in it. I mean, I enjoy most of the Muppet movies. I watched not a lot, but a few episodes of what is known as Sesame Street, which is still going today. Which, bravo, congratulations to that team up there. What is it in Pittsburgh? So, and everyone else who works for those networks and the people who work very hard and tirelessly to put those educational programs for children together. Our hats are off to you, good people, because education is important as anything else. So yeah, I was introduced to Muppets and then Sesame Street. The holiday season is coming up. So have you ever seen the special called Christmas Eve on Sesame Street? Did you ever see that?
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh man, it's on YouTube. You gotta check that out, man.
Look at that. Yeah.
It's like an hour, 20-minute movie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm big on docs. Man, I love documentaries, man. So basically like looking at the whole creation of that.
There is a documentary about the making or the creation of the Sesame Street, the whole thing with Jim Henson and his empire on HBO Max.
Yeah, that's a good one. Elmo, It's one on the creator Elmo, the guy that does the voice of Elmo.
Kevin Clash.
So there's one on Mr. Rogers, which is a phenomenal because I didn't know that much about him like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Great documentaries. Yeah, there's that one. The documentary is called Won't You Be My Neighbor? And then there was a movie version with Tom Hanks as Fred Rogers called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood that came out not too long ago. That was good too.
Yeah, it was genius. And and I'm more like him because he writes all of his own. Well, I don't write no music, but he writes all of his own music. He does all the characters, the storyboards, everything.
It's amazing.
Genius. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, man, I was kind of hanging on a thread with him too, because I was just hoping that nobody was gonna come out one day and say this about him, because he's one of the last pioneers that left with a good reputation in place that was working with children. It's sad that people been going down like that, but So
no, it is a shame we've lost a lot of legends over the years, but a lot of people who've worked with them and around them during their times when they were on public television and all that jazz do their best to keep their legacies alive respectively. So we'll just definitely our hats off to those good people, and you will be forever missed, those that have left us, whether it's Jim Henson, whether it's Fred Rogers, some of the voice actors or the puppeteers of the Sesame Street, Jim Henson Productions, all that kind of jazz. You will be missed for sure. That is 100% true. With that being said, I do want to let you know that this episode of And I Quote, if you will, is indeed powered by our good friends over there at Pod Decks. Now, Pod Decks are unique interview questions as well as episode starting prompts in the palm of your very own hand. So whether you are a new podcaster or existing broadcaster, such as our kind friend known as Jerry Royce here on set, looking to grow your audience or get more engagement, you're going to want to check out poddecks.com. Make sure you use the code Ryan10. That's RYAN10. Ryan10. That's all one word for 10% off your first order. So thank you very, very much to our good friends over there at Poddecks. With that being said, Jerry, what's something weird that you recommend everyone tries at least once?
I say try to be a hand puppet. Entertaining your younger siblings or cousins or relatives. That's fun. You'd be surprised how they get a joy out of that. That's right. Keep some hand puppets on hand. That's right.
There you go. I mean, when I can't speak for everybody on this, but when I was a very much younger kid, when I was in elementary school, we put together these puppets that were made out of what would you call those things? Oh yeah, lunch bags, those paper bags. Do you remember that?
Yeah, man.
It make you draw on it, make you put like a mouthpiece on it or something, like lips or something like that. I don't know. It would look like that. I don't know. I don't have a picture here in front of me on set, but if you grew up and went to elementary school and you remember your teacher saying, "Okay, everyone, we're going to design these things. They're called puppets. But we're going to make them out of lunch bags." Okay.
Or socks.
Yeah. I mean, maybe some students may have put them together through socks. I don't know. If you have any memories of that, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We would love to hear about some of those past memories for you. And by the way, these questions that we are posing to our good friend here, Jerry Royce, here in this episode of And I Quote, let us know your thoughts about these. What is something strange that you think everyone should try at least once? Let us know. I'd like to hear I'd like to hear what you have to say, and we encourage the interaction here on this show known as And I Quote. Jerry, how about this one? What's the worst, and I mean the worst pickup line you've ever heard or dished out?
That's a good one, man. I just heard some too, man. Oh man, pickup lines. It's been a minute. I've been using some on my wife lately. My whole thing is I just come at people. I just say, "Hey, my name is Jerry Woods Live worldwide." That's all I say. See how they react.
Can't think of anything else that comes to mind as a worst pickup line?
Oh man, I heard some doozies too, man. Man, this is not coming to me right now. You threw me off when you was talking about the hand. We was talking about the hand puppets. The memories just tearing me up, man. Because that's when you got a chance to become super creative.
Well, that's nothing wrong with creativity. With that being said, how creative will you be with this one? If you were reincarnated as a famous landmark, which would it be?
Ooh, famous landmark.
Any landmark.
I'm gonna tell you, man. I love me some Empire State Building, man. Yeah, just that word Empire. Yeah, that's what I want to be, the Empire State Building. Yeah.
All right. It is one of the more tallest buildings in the world. There's also an indie film called The Empire Strikes Back.
That's right. The famous Fox series, Empire.
Oh, yeah. I believe Terrence Howard, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
and one of my friends from Virginia played in that too, and also that's where King Kong made his mark on New York. I
That's
believe that's where his
very
last
true.
stand. His last stand.
That's right. Different iterations of the character. They did have a scene featured at the Empire State Building, him climbing up the building, maybe carrying the girl with him, and then at the end, you hear that classic line. It wasn't him. It was beauty that killed the beast.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Oh
it
yeah.
was beauty that killed the beast. It wasn't the planes. It
Oh,
was beauty that killed the
that's right.
beast. Anyway, last time I heard that line was in the Peter Jackson remake of 2005, King Kong. Wasn't a big fan of that movie. I got to be honest. That movie was like a 3-hour film that easily could have been an hour 45 minutes, if not 2 hours. Okay, that film was an hour and change too long. And secondly, they came out with a much better film years later called Kong Skull Island. Okay.
Yeah, some good ones out there, man. I just saw one I thought was just released in 2020, 2021.
Mm-hmm. The one that came after that, or actually after that, was Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then there was Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. No, they've been doing it up again, man. Special effects, with the good storylines.
They've come a long way in the last 50 years since certain other iterations of the character were featured with guys in rubber suits. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Kong Skull Island was great, but I got to be honest with you though, Jerry. If we're doing a quick sidebar here before I go on to our next question, brought to you by our good friends over there at Poddex, I wasn't too big of a fan of Kong versus Godzilla because they built that film up so much that I felt like certain parts of that film just didn't live up to the hype for me. I don't know. I mean, maybe you think differently, and that's fine. Listen,
my thing, I thought it moved pretty well. I like the way it moved, especially when it from the middle to the end. They developed the storyline pretty good. Because sometimes you can see some phony monster movies, man. I've seen my share, but I still hung in there. Watching Channel 5 with the snow on the screen. It is before cable hit Baltimore. I was still
snow
watching,
on the screen. We had tracking problems, fellas.
Yeah, I was still watching Godzilla versus
was it Mothra or King Ghidorah?
Mothra and all
King
of them.
Ghidorah?
Yeah, it was.
What was the other one? Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla?
Yeah, Mega, yeah. There's so many of them. A lot of. Can't hold it all in here now.
It's okay. I wonder how for the person maybe watching or listening to this, how would you rank the kaiju films featuring Godzilla or King Kong? Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Be very fascinated to read your thoughts about that matter. With that being said, our next question, which is indeed powered by Poddex, do you have any superstitions, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm kind of on Sundays, man. I love my Ravens, man. And I try to
Lamar Jackson, maybe.
Yeah. Try to keep my routine. I was trying to remember routine when I got Flacco into the Super. So I was thinking, my wife said, "It's not like you play for them." I do, honey. The fans are just important. It's what we do. Remember, they said you got both sides praying for their team. So they said that you can't pray to God, because you got this side is praying against the kick and this side for the kick, so it's gonna offset each other. So it's the power of the fans. It's in our hands. How much noise we make, whether you're at home or in the stadium, that stuff matters, man. What you're wearing. And sometimes I get confused. The Ravens got so many different uniforms. I get the wrong uniform. I have the wrong uniform on, but I can't go change. It's too late. I'll mess it up. And then the commission might come on the radio and call some people out because we had the wrong uniform on and we wouldn't change, or the wrong hat. You didn't have your gloves on, or your Super Bowl replica ring. Or your Ray Lewis jersey. Everybody's supposed to wear the Ray Lewis jersey some Sundays, I guess, so we can have good defense. Yeah, man, that's where it all is in football for me.
I mean, if you don't mind me asking, who are some of your favorite Ravens players, past or present, and how much Ravens swag do you have in your man cave? Do you have a lot of Ravens jerseys? Do you have a lot of Raven Funko Pops? Do you have Raven flags following you all over the place? What's it like?
All right, man, don't laugh at me, man. It's pretty bad over here, bro. I have all right, two things, and this happened during the pandemic. My wife gave in. I was able to convert the library into a home theater, but it's really the Lamar room.
Oh,
really? I get all right now. Everything is done up in purple lights, everything. The big super screen TV got the back. When it comes on, it's purple in the backlight. I got the Lamar stuff. I got the Ravens Super Bowl winning football, all that stuff on my, because I got one of those fireplaces there and there's nice little open shelves. And then up in I have an open closet. It's the size of a bedroom.
Sure.
And I have one rack. And I never forget this. When I used to share the closet with my wife, I remember my brother came over to come visit, our new home. And he said, wow, look at all those purple jerseys. So that just show you how much purple was in there. They weren't all jerseys. Some of them were dress shirts. Yep. So that's how I roll. So now I have my new closet, all my purple jerseys, and I'm mad because I can't get my hands on Mark Andrews jersey. It's hard to get the Andrews jersey right now.
Mark Andrews. Okay.
Yeah, it's tough, man. So basically, they have one row to themselves.
Oh,
the jerseys.
There you go. That just goes to show you how our guest for this week's episode of And I Quote, Jerry Royce, is indeed a Baltimore Ravens fan, which is a professional football team. For those of you who may not follow sports, listen, I'm not a sports fan myself, even though I worked for 105.7 The Fan once upon a time. Oh, wow. But I know it's weird, right? I'm not really a sports fan, Jerry, but I do know who the Ravens are. I do know who Lamar Jackson is. I know who certain other players and all that stuff because my family watches it during the regular season. So I get to hear the yelling and the screaming and the hollering downstairs in the living room, if you know what I mean. Right. They're like, yeah, they scored a touchdown. It's like Lamar Jackson. And then the funny thing is, I have a coworker at one of my jobs who is a diehard Ravens fan, and I gave her the gold Funko of Lamar Jackson. Do you know what I'm talking about? Those figures. And I gave her one. She freaked out. She says, "This is the best gift anyone's ever gotten me."
Wow. Did she cry?
Like, oh yeah, she was hopping and hooting and hollering. She was jumping all over the office. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And this person who got this item, you know who you are. So, yeah, she's a big Lamar Jackson.
I feel on that. My birthday is September 10th, so that's really the first weekend of the opening of season for the NFL.
Really, your birthday's only 2 weeks shy of mine.
Yeah. So, what happens is my family know that it doesn't matter what they give me Ravens, it's going to be good to go. But one of my family members, I think it was my wife and my daughter, I bought a really nice stainless steel mug. But it wasn't a Ravens mug, right? It was it was supposed to be able to hold coffee hot, piping hot for hours, right? But the sucker does not fit in my car cup holder, which was weird.
Dang it!
So you imagine a drive to work. I'm holding it the whole time, trying to drive a Jeep. So they gave me a Ravens mug, coffee mug that fits perfectly in my Jeep cup holder.
Oh, it does.
It's my favorite gift of all times, man. And they gave me a visor, sun visor with the Ravens logo, because I love sun visors.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, because I believe that I've been wearing hats so much. I just found out that you should allow your head to get sun rays to get that vitamin D. And I stopped wearing sunglasses because I heard you need to get the vitamin D through your pupils and through your scalp for to keep blood circulation for your brain. All that. So I've been wearing visors lately. I believed it.
Visors. Okay. Well, that's a great PSA. It's kind of like the ones we used to watch when we were kids. The more you know. So there you go. Once again, we're talking with podcast with Jerry Royce on this incredible episode of And I Quote, I should say. Make sure you like and share this video with all of your friends. If you have any questions or comments, let us know in the chat. We would love to hear from you. Whether you're watching this live or on the replay, thank you so much for being here. Our next question is powered by Poddex here for you, Jerry. Have you ever worn clothing with the labels / tags still attached?
Oh, yeah. Somebody give me a new tie. And I didn't think I had a new tie, anything in my closet that I've never worn. And somebody gave me a Sean John tie, and I didn't realize the tag was still on it when I tied it on and went out the house. Wow.
You got it. Gee willikers. Fun stories we've had here on this show, but I do want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Jerry Royce for being our guest on this week's episode of And I Quote. Jerry, the person who's watching or listening to this, where can they follow you on social media and everything you have coming up? What do you got?
All right, I'll make it easy for you guys. Of course, you can just put in Jerry Royce Live and, man, you'll see the whole enterprise come up. But we have a streaming platform with all our television shows and our podcasts on demand and live, theweekendchannel.tv. The Weekend. So if you think about the Weather Channel, just think about the weekendchannel.tv. All right, there you go. So everything is the whole company, good and bad.
Fan-flippin-tastic. Links to where you can follow Jerry Royce and everything he has coming up, as well as our previous guests here on the show, are located within the description of each video respectively. So make sure you check out the links in the description of this video to follow Jerry Royce and everything that he has coming up down the line. Jerry, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate it. And you got some stories, man. My gosh. I mean, you and I live in the same state, just a few miles from each other, which is cray. One of these days, you and I are going to have to sit down, gather together, grab some lunch, grab a bite to eat, maybe just shoot the breeze, maybe get Ken Wyman and Jeremy Kahn to come in over there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I am friends with him on Facebook. I may have to hit them up after this.
Yeah, get Jeremy, man. I love it. He's a funny guy, man.
He is. He's a nice dude too. So I'll give him credit where credit is due. Jerry, thank you so much for being here. Please do stick around here for just a moment, if you would, please. My name is Ryan of Nerd Culture. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5, which is in my name tag right here. That's where am I pointing? There it is, right there on this portion of the screen. Links are located within the description of this video. Once again, thank you to our good friends over there at Poddex for powering this episode and every episode of And I Quote. I want to let you know some great events are coming your way very, very soon. Our next movie anniversary watch along is coming up. It is going to be the 10th anniversary watch along of Skyfall, the James Bond film starring the one and only Daniel Craig, on Wednesday night, November the 9th, 2022 at 8 p.m. EST on Facebook and YouTube, simply at It's Nerd Culture. So make sure you're following us on all forms of social media, and you'll get notified of when those events go down, I should say. Also, I want to let you know about a great event coming up in the month of January. This is called the Multiverse Fundraiser. It's going to be held on January 20th through the 22nd of 2023. This is a free virtual convention that you can attend from the comfort of your very own home. We are going to have celebrity guests. We're going to have special panels. We're going to have raffles, and all the proceeds are going to be donated to John Ritter, the late great John Ritter, and his family. Hence the reason it is called the Ritter Rally in celebration of the memory of John Ritter, January 20th through the 22nd, 2023. Make sure you go to the website, www.themultiversefundraiser.com, for more information about who our guests are going to be, some of the special surprises that are coming your way. So make sure you check them out on social media and follow along for that. My goodness, so many things are coming your way, so much to do, and so little time. If you know where that line came from, a certain movie, let us know in the chat. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that. In the meantime, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, smash that notification bell so you get notified when our new videos go up. And in the meantime, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe. And remember, life is better when reading. Take a look.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
Sweet dreams they placed on me inside my mind. Chance my truth, twist the past, my memories are fading fast. Am I still missed? Who do you want me to be? Am I still missed?
Join author Gary Zeiger for an animatic short film based on his Breakaway Stingray novel series. Watch this animatic short based on the novel Stingray, You Can't Hide Forever at stingrayseries.com. In Stingray, You Can't Hide Forever, Captain Epsilon is putting the band back together to rescue his protege's little sister from the evil conglomerate, while keeping his state-of-the-art warship, Stingray, out of their hands. Watch as the adventure unfolds in the groundbreaking animatic short at stingrayseries.com. Then, join the crew of Stingray with the next novel in the series, Stingray Prophecy, where Captain Epsilon and Dr. Zubre are pivotal players in an ancient prophecy. Can they reunite the people of two worlds before they destroy each other? To learn more, visit stingrayseries.com.
In the summer of 1953, private investigator Will Lucky Marks was working as the in-house private eye for Arcane Pacific Pictures. Trapped inside the studio with the killer, Lucky must find the killer before time runs out. Lot 28. Own it today. Available iTunes and Amazon.com.
Choose high-flying action. Choose death-defying escapes. Choose spine-tingling thrills. Choose nail-biting intrigue. Now's your chance to choose the adventure. The Captain Hawkland Adventures. Available on Amazon.com.
Good morning! Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.